There is something happening in your life right now that you have not fully named yet. Not a dramatic earthquake of change. Not the kind of shift that announces itself loudly and demands immediate attention. Something quieter than that. A persistent low-frequency pull towards something you cannot quite see yet, but can absolutely feel. The sense that the life you have been living and the life you are actually capable of living are not the same thing, and that the distance between them is becoming harder and harder to pretend is acceptable. You have probably tried to explain this feeling to people around you and found that the words come out wrong, or that the person across from you nods politely but clearly does not feel what you are pointing toward. And so you stopped trying to explain it. You started carrying it alone. This unnamed knowing that something is about to shift. That you are shifting. That the person you were a year ago and the person standing here right now are measurably, undeniably different. And not in ways that fit neatly into the stories other people tell about success and progress and having it all figured out. This feeling is not confusion. It is not weakness. It is not evidence that something has gone wrong with you. It is the feeling of a human being standing at the edge of genuine change. And today we are going to talk about what that actually means. What the science behind it says and what you can practically do with it starting right now. No false promises. No manipulation. Just honest, grounded, genuinely useful conversation about one of the most important things a human being can go through. Most of what you have been taught about change is backwards. You have been taught that transformation is something you make happen through sheer force of will, that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is a problem to be attacked with enough effort, enough strategy, enough relentless forward motion. And while effort and strategy absolutely matter, there is a layer beneath all of that which almost nobody addresses. A layer where the most significant changes in a human life happen not because of what you pushed harder on, but because of what you finally released, what you finally stopped carrying, what you finally stopped pretending was working when it clearly was not. Genuine transformation at this level is not addition, it is subtraction. It is the gradual and sometimes disorienting falling away of identities, habits, beliefs, and ways of being that were never genuinely yours to begin with, that were handed to you by family, by culture, by years of accumulated experience, before you were old enough to evaluate whether they actually fit. And the reason this process feels so unsettling is that when you have worn something long enough, you stop experiencing it as something you are wearing. You experience it as who you are. So when it begins to fall away, it does not feel like liberation, it feels like loss. It feels like falling apart rather than falling into something more true. You are not falling apart, you are falling into clarity, and there is an enormous difference between those two things even when they feel identical from the inside. Here is what is actually happening in your nervous system during periods of genuine change. Your brain is built around patterns. Specifically, it is built to conserve energy by automating as much of your behavior as possible. The neural pathways that govern how you think, how you respond emotionally, how you interpret situations. These were laid down through repetition over years and decades. They run automatically, below the level of conscious thought, because your brain long ago determined these patterns were the most efficient way to navigate your environment. The problem is that your environment has changed. You have changed. The challenges you are facing now, the kind of life you are genuinely trying to build, the person you are becoming, all of it requires responses and capacities that your old neural patterns were not designed for. And so there is a conflict. The old patterns keep firing, the old reactions keep showing up, and you keep finding yourself in the same emotional loops, the same stuck places, even when you intellectually know better. This is not a character flaw. This is neuroscience. The process of genuine transformation requires your brain to build new neural pathways. And this process is metabolically expensive. It takes real energy, focused attention, and above all time spent in the uncomfortable space between the old pattern and the new one, between the automatic reaction and the conscious choice, between who you have been and who you are becoming. That uncomfortable space is where you live right now, and it is genuinely hard. But it is not evidence that something has gone wrong. It is evidence that something is going right at a very deep level. Now here is something that almost nobody explains accurately. The idea of surrender. Every genuine wisdom tradition, every honest teacher who has ever lived, every person who has navigated real transformation has pointed toward the importance of letting go, of releasing the grip on how things must look and when they must arrive, of trusting a process larger than your own planning and anxious monitoring. In Islam, this is Tawakkul, complete reliance on Allah after you have done everything within your capacity. In contemporary psychology, it appears in the research on acceptance, which demonstrates consistently that attempting to control your internal experiences rather than accepting them creates more suffering, not less. But here is where the popular conversation about surrender goes wrong. Surrender is not passivity. It is not giving up. It is not the bypassing of real problems with vague statements about trusting the process while quietly avoiding the actual work those problems require. Real surrender is something far more active and demanding. It is the discipline of doing everything genuinely within your capacity, honestly, thoroughly, without cutting corners, and then releasing your grip on the specific form the outcome must take. Your responsibility is the quality of your effort and the sincerity of your intention. The result belongs to Allah. This is not a limitation on your power. It is the most liberating thing you can understand about your situation. You are no longer responsible for controlling outcomes that were never truly yours to control. When you genuinely internalize this, something remarkable happens in your nervous system. The chronic low-grade tension that comes from constantly monitoring whether your efforts are producing the right results begins to dissolve. And in that dissolution, your capacity for clear thinking, genuine creativity, and noticing opportunities that were always present but invisible to an anxious mind dramatically expands. This is not mysticism. Anxiety narrows attention. It is literally a survival mechanism designed to focus perception on threats. When you are chronically anxious about outcomes, your brain is filtering out enormous amounts of information that does not fit the threat detection priority. The moment that anxiety genuinely releases, your perceptual bandwidth opens. The HeartMath Institute has spent decades researching heart-brain coherence, and their findings are worth understanding accurately. The human heart generates an electromagnetic field measurably larger than the field generated by the brain. The heart's electrical field is approximately 60 times greater in amplitude than the brain's, and its magnetic field extends several feet beyond the physical body. What HeartMath found is that this field changes based on your emotional state. When you are in chronic stress or anxiety, the pattern of the heart's output becomes irregular and incoherent. When you are in genuine states of gratitude and positive emotion, the pattern becomes smooth, regular, and ordered. The effects are measurable. High cardiac coherence is associated with improved cognitive function, clearer decision-making, better emotional regulation, and reduced stress hormones. This is one reason why genuine gratitude, shukr, is so consistently emphasized in Islam and across every wisdom tradition. The Quran tells us that if you are grateful, Allah will increase you. Genuine gratitude shifts your physiological state in ways that open your perception and improve the quality of everything you do from that state. The spiritual truth and the physiological reality point in exactly the same direction. Now let us get genuinely practical, because awareness without direction is just a more sophisticated form of being stuck. The first thing that changes everything is how you relate to the discomfort you are currently experiencing. The instinct during periods of genuine transition is to resolve that discomfort as quickly as possible, to make a decision, any decision, that stops the uncertainty, to find a framework that explains everything and gives you somewhere solid to stand, to numb the groundlessness with busyness or distraction. Resist this instinct. The discomfort of genuine transition is not a problem to be solved. It is information to be listened to. It is the sensation of a human being in the actual process of becoming something new. Your job right now is not to resolve the discomfort, but to learn to tolerate it without collapsing back into patterns that no longer serve you. To stay in the uncertainty long enough for genuine clarity to emerge rather than manufacturing false certainty to plug the gap before the real answer has had time to develop. This is patience in its deepest form, not passive waiting. Active, engaged, disciplined patience that continues to do the work while trusting the timing. The second practical principle is to dramatically reduce the noise in your life. Most people going through genuine transition are drowning in external input. The endless scroll of other people's opinions, other people's frameworks for understanding reality. All of this creates constant background noise that makes it nearly impossible to hear the quieter signal of your own genuine knowing. Your genuine knowing is not loud. It does not compete well with the volume of modern life. It speaks in the language of subtle recognition, of the felt sense of rightness or wrongness that arises before the analytical mind has a chance to override it. To access this knowing, you need real silence, genuine solitude, real periods where the only input available is whatever is arising from within. This is why the structure of Salah, 5 times throughout the day you stop everything and genuinely redirect your attention, is not just spiritual practice. It is neurological recalibration. Each prayer interrupts the automatic momentum of reactive living, a genuine pause, a moment of real presence created by structure so that it happens even on the days when you do not feel like stopping. These returns to stillness are not interruptions to your productive life. They are the foundation that makes your productive life actually function well. The third practical principle is to take small, honest actions in the direction of what feels most genuinely alive in you. Not dramatic gestures, not the burning down of your existing life to make room for something new. Small actions, quiet choices. The conversation you have been avoiding that genuinely needs to happen. the thing you keep dismissing as impractical that actually deserves to be taken seriously, the version of yourself you have been saving for some future moment when conditions are finally right. Brought into this present moment, today, in whatever limited form is currently available. These small actions send a signal to your own nervous system that you are not just thinking about changing, you are actually changing. Things that were invisible from your previous position become visible once you have moved. Doors that were not apparent from a distance become apparent up close. You cannot think your way through genuine transformation. You can only move your way through it, carefully, with attention, with tawakkul, but forward. Now there is something underneath all of this practical guidance that needs to be addressed directly. The fear that you are asking for too much, that the vision of the life you carry, the quality of contribution you want to make, the depth of meaning you want to experience, the person you genuinely believe you are capable of becoming is somehow arrogant or unrealistic. This fear deserves to be examined carefully, because it is not always wrong and not always right. There is a version of this fear that contains genuine wisdom, kibr, arrogance, the belief that you are self-sufficient, that your achievements belong entirely to you, is genuinely worth guarding against. But there is another version of this fear that has nothing to do with genuine humility and everything to do with conditioning. The version that says keep your expectations small because small expectations are safer. That says the vision you carry of what you might become is presumptuous and should be quietly set aside. This version was not given to you by wisdom. It was given to you by environments that had an interest in keeping your ambitions calibrated to what is convenient for the systems around you rather than what is genuinely true about your capacity. Taking your potential seriously, working honestly to develop and deploy the gifts Allah placed within you, is not arrogance. It is gratitude in action. It is the fulfillment of an amanah. The capacity you carry is not yours to hoard out of false modesty. It is something given to you to develop in service of something larger than yourself. Now let us address one of the most damaging beliefs a person can carry. The belief that you are behind. The sense that you should be further along by now, that others have already arrived at places you are still trying to reach, that the years spent in directions that did not ultimately serve you were wasted. This belief is false. Every experience you have had, including the ones you most regret, including the years that felt like detours, built something real, not as a consolation prize, as actual preparation. The specific challenges you navigated developed specific capacities that the life ahead of you is going to require. You could not have arrived at this exact clarity through any path other than the one you actually walked. Allah's timing is not your timeline. What looks like delay from inside your experience may be, from a larger view, precisely the right pace, the right experiences arriving at exactly the right depth of readiness. This does not mean passivity. It means doing your genuine best with what is in front of you today and releasing the burden of trying to control a timeline that was never yours to manage. Let us talk about identity, because this is where the actual mechanism of lasting change lies. Most people approach change as if it is something that happens to an existing fixed self. They take their current identity as given and try to attach new behaviors to that fixed foundation. This produces limited results because your behaviors emerge from your identity. What you consistently do flows from who you genuinely believe yourself to be. Change the behaviors without addressing the underlying self-perception. and the behaviors drift back. The old identity reasserts itself. Real change works from the inside out. It starts with a genuine shift in how you see yourself. Not a performed shift, not affirmations repeated until they temporarily drown out the doubt. A genuine, earned shift that comes from actually showing up differently in small moments, consistently over time, until the accumulated evidence of your own behavior begins to rewrite the story you carry about who you are. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier comfortable, every time you respond with patience when reactivity would be far easier, every time you do the thing you committed to doing when the motivation is completely absent, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You are slowly, through the accumulated weight of small, consistent choices, becoming someone genuinely different. This is not dramatic. It does not look like the sudden transformations that popular content promises. It is quiet, consistent, daily, often invisible work. But it is the only work that produces permanent change. The neuroscience behind this is real and well documented. Neuroplasticity, the brain's genuine ability to physically reorganize itself in response to repeated experience, is one of the most important discoveries in contemporary science. New neural pathways are literally built through repeated new choices. The brain that makes a different choice once is the same brain. The brain that makes a different choice consistently over months and years is physically different. New connections have formed. Old automatic patterns have weakened. New automatic patterns have taken their place. Begin each morning before the day has collapsed into its specific demands with a genuine moment of conscious orientation. A real question asked honestly to yourself. What kind of person do I want to be today? Not what do I want to achieve? Not what outcomes am I hoping for? Who do I want to be in the moments that will be given to me today? This question, asked genuinely and held lightly throughout the day, keeps your identity as a choice rather than a default. It reminds you each morning that the version of yourself you inhabit is not entirely fixed, that each day offers real opportunities to show up differently. The relationship between your inner state and what you experience in your life is real and worth understanding accurately. When you are in a genuine state of openness, engaged curiosity, and grounded trust, you make different choices than when you are contracted by chronic anxiety. You notice different opportunities, you generate different quality interactions, you pursue different possibilities. The world you navigate from that internal state is genuinely different, not because external circumstances magically changed, but because the human navigating them changed in ways that are completely real and completely traceable. This means investing in the quality of your internal state is not a luxury. It is the most practically important investment you can make in every area of your external life. The quality of your prayer, the genuineness of your gratitude, the honesty of your self-reflection. These are not separate from your effectiveness in the world. They are the foundation everything else is built on. There will be people in your life who are uncomfortable with the changes you are going through. People who found the previous version of you familiar and manageable, who are now encountering something less predictable. Some will express discomfort as concern, some as criticism. Some will simply become more distant. This is difficult, particularly when the people involved are ones you love. But their discomfort is not a verdict on your growth. It is information about their own relationship with change. their own investment in things staying as they were. It is a reflection of their internal landscape, not objective feedback about the validity of yours. Seek the company of people who carry the qualities you are working to develop, whose lives provide actual evidence that the direction you are moving leads somewhere worth going. The principle of choosing righteous company in Islam is not just spiritual advice. It is recognition of a deep psychological reality. The expectations, habits, and aspirations of the people you spend consistent time with become your own baseline over time. Choose that community deliberately. There is no secret formula that bypasses the real work. There is no hidden knowledge that only a selected few have access to. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something worth less than what it costs you in time and misplaced trust. What there actually is this: a genuine commitment to knowing yourself honestly, to examining without flinching the beliefs and patterns that are no longer serving you, to doing the daily work of showing up slightly more honestly, slightly more courageously, slightly more aligned with your actual values than you did yesterday. Not perfectly, just honestly, consistently, over time. There is the practice of returning to prayer when you have drifted, returning to honesty when you have been performing, returning to gratitude when you have been taking things for granted. The speed and consistency of this return is the actual practice, not the never drifting that is not human. The returning. There is tawakkul, the deep practiced trust that after you have done everything genuinely within your capacity, the outcome rests with a wisdom that sees further and knows more than you can from inside your limited perspective. You are not in control of outcomes. You are in control of effort, intention, and character. Knowing the difference between what is yours to carry and what is not is one of the most practically liberating things a human being can genuinely understand. There is Sabr, patient persistence that keeps doing the work when results are not yet visible, that does not require external confirmation before continuing. Active, engaged, disciplined commitment to a direction chosen based on genuine values rather than immediate feedback. And there is shukr, genuine gratitude, not as a technique for attracting more. Honest gratitude as accurate perception, the recognition of what you already have, what you have already been given, what is already working even in the midst of what is not. You are in the middle of something real right now, something that has no clean name and no guaranteed timeline, something that asks you to keep moving forward in genuine uncertainty, to keep investing in a version of yourself that does not yet fully exist, to keep trusting a process whose outcome you cannot currently see. This is not comfortable. Genuine becoming was never meant to be comfortable, but it is the actual work. And you are already doing it. You have been becoming someone for a long time. You are not finished, but you are far enough along to stop treating the life you actually want as a distant fantasy, and start treating it as the direction you are genuinely moving in. With every honest choice, every moment of genuine patience, every small action taken in the direction of what is most true about who you actually are. That shift from waiting to moving, from hoping to orienting, from someday to the sincere effort of today is the entire thing. Everything else is the unfolding of what that shift makes possible. Begin there, not tomorrow. Now. In the honest, imperfect reality of this exact moment, this is where it starts. And you are already here.